Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to your last free air Monday night rabble on the Rangers Rabble Network. I'm Brian, the host tonight, and joining me tonight is Alex. Alex, how are we?
Good mate, I can actually enjoy a pod for a change and actually have a good chat. So I can actually enjoy being on the show rather than just sitting here shrouded in negativity all day, mate. So I am good. What about yourself? How are you?
Yeah, I think like everybody else, it's just a bit of relief and a bit of breathing a sigh of relief that the pressure cooker that's been Rangers has finally been released, and we can all breathe a sigh of relief. So we can move onwards and upwards now that obviously the sacking of Russell Martin has happened, and I think everybody's just relieved, and because let's be honest, Al, there was no surprise, was there?
No, I mean there was literally no surprise. I think it came too late, in my opinion. It came too late. This sacking. As soon as we seen that it wasn't going to plan in the comments, as we spoke about this last night. Obviously, a lot of the comments from Russell Martin didn't really have any conviction behind it. The way the players were treated didn't really happen. So it's obviously going to be a massive thing going forward. They're saying in the letter we're going to talk about that this is time to get recruitment. There's not a lot of time, Brian. There's not a lot at all. Like we're back in what 10, 11 days. So there's not a lot of time to get a manager in and then get him embedded into the players and get his way of life going. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a quick, very, very quick turnaround.
It really is. It really is. And folks, we are waiting for Mark to join us. He is having issues with technology, I believe, so he will be joining us very shortly. But hello to everybody in the comments, and I believe we've already got a couple of starred comments.
We do indeed. So Craig Carson has joined as a member of the Rabble family on YouTube, as well as Gregor. Gregor's also joined as a member of the Rabble family, and we also have a $9.99 super chat here, Brian, for yourself.
Excellent, excellent. Vix, brilliant support as usual, Vix, much appreciated. I think everyone will agree domestic success is more important than Europe. Will the 49ers at least test the resolve of Hearts for McInnes or St Mirren for Robinson? Now, this is two guys that have been heavily sort of spoken about in sort of Rangers sort of fan circles that are potential guys that could replace Russell Martin. Do you see Rangers going down the route of testing Hearts or St Mirren's resolve?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever find out about it, to be fair. I don't think it's something that we'll hear about, but I think they will. I mean, the way that we're going on with Derek McInnes just now, I'm going to bring Mark into the studio. As we're obviously talking about it, I think there's talk that they're always going to be there. That's never going to go away, the conversation of Dyche or, not Dyche, sorry, of Robinson or McInnes. I think obviously all the fans are seeing what McInnes can do with the budget at Hearts. Obviously had a great time at Kelly as well, and obviously at Aberdeen. So he knows how the league works. He knows how to play it. He's been there long enough. Same with Stephen Robinson. I wouldn't be upset and I wouldn't be annoyed if we went for either of those managers, because they've obviously got a great pedigree in the league. A lot of people will say that we need to improve in Europe, but I agree with Vix's comment, the super chat, that right now we need to focus on the domestic success, because right now we're getting no European football next year, regardless of what we do in Europa League. Right now we're getting no European football, and as Rangers we can't afford that as a financial standpoint, but as a club as well we cannot be affording to not be in Europe next season, because the way the coefficient's going, I think we lose a place. So I think we actually lose a Conference League place. So there's only going to be 3 spots up for grabs. So we need to be at least jumping up, and we have lost Mark. He's away.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think I've said for quite a while that we need to get our domestic house in order before we, start thinking about Europe, because domestically is your bread and butter. That's where you qualify for Europe. That's where you make your your sort of push for Champions League or Europa League or whatever competition you eventually end up. So yeah, I've said for a long time that it should be the domestic that we should be looking at more than the European stuff. And just while we're waiting on Mark to join us again, obviously Rangers tonight released an open letter from the chairman, Andrew Kavanagh, and the vice chairman, Parag Marath. So I'll read that to you if you haven't read it already. Dear supporters, As you may have seen by now, we are making a change at Rangers and have parted ways with Russell Martin, Matt Gill and Mike Williamson with thanks for their hard work. When we took over in the club in the summer, we shared what we wanted to build for Rangers, to win trophies in Scotland and to be able to compete at a high level in Europe. We know achieving these goals will take time, but our performances and results have not been good enough. We know you are frustrated. We are too. We did not get this right, and it is our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track. A rigorous, thoughtful recruitment process is already underway, and we are treating it with the urgency it deserves. The two of us are deeply involved, and the evaluation will have our full attention until we are confident we have a leader with the character and skill set to deliver these results. Moving forward, we are fully confident in our players who possesses the talent and determination to succeed. At the same time, a great deal of important work is progressing across the club, building out a stable leadership and football structure under Patrick and Kevin's guidance, advancing the detailed plans aligned with our long-term strategy, and beginning the early stages of investment planning for Ibrox. Your focus will rightly be what's happening on the pitch, but this work also matters, and it will help lay the foundation for success in the future. Change is never easy, but we are not deterred by hard work. In fact, we see it as a great opportunity ahead. The season is not over, and we have plenty to play for in all four competitions. Together, we are committed to delivering the performances and results that you can be proud of. Your loyalty to this club through thick and thin is something we do not take for granted. We see the effort and emotion you put into supporting Rangers, and it drives us every day. We intend to earn your trust because we all share the same goal: restoring success to Rangers, Andrew and Parag. Evening, Mark. How are we?
Evening, gents. Apologies about that. I had a bit of a Wi-Fi issue, but seems to be sorted.
Not a problem. Alex, immediate reaction to that open letter from the chairman and the vice chairman.
Seems that obviously I spoke about it before we came on, Brian, but I think that immediately they're saying that they're going to be having a closer eye on the appointment. Leads me to believe that the cards are marked for Patrick Stewart and Thirlwell, that they were not named in that at all for the recruitment process. So I think they're understanding they got that wrong with Russell Martin. They did such a rigorous interview process with him that they took 7 interviews and decided he was the right man for the job. So I think purely from a competitive point of view, they don't want to be sitting here going, right, let's go for who these guys think. They want somebody that's going to come in. And I can see it in the comments, a few guys saying they don't want a project manager. They want somebody that's established, can come in, win games and get us back to where we are. They know that there's 4 competitions up for grabs. We've not had a great start in Europa League. We've had an absolute abysmal start in the league. So the fact that they're making change now and not mentioning Patrick Stewart or Thirlwell now shows that they think that they're really failing after 3 months of being in the job. So that they've got no confidence in them at all. But I think it's a statement that was needed. It's needed for the fans because all the club came out with was, we've stuck Russell Martin, we've sacked him, see you later on, thanks for your time, and nothing to the fans. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk today about the fans, and it was like a mob mentality was used a lot, that we got him out of the club. Well, they've come out and said that it was their decision. They wanted him out because the results were not there, and I think that's what we needed as fans. They've seen that, they've taken accountability that Russell Martin's not worked, but they have to have that responsibility to say, as the owner, the chairman and the vice chair, we had to make a decision to get him out of the club now before it gets too late, and we can't rescue anything.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, it was a carefully worded open letter, wasn't it? It was very to the point. There was a lot of good language used in that, wasn't there? They were taking personal responsibility for this situation that's arisen. They're going to take a more personal sort of involvement in the next appointment. Yeah, it was a very, very well worded letter, wasn't it?
Aye, it seems like they're going to take a more hands-on approach this time, which is good, but then it's also negative for Patrick Stewart and Thirlwell that they can't be trusted to do the job themselves, that they need to take a bigger step or play a bigger part in appointing the next manager. That should be down to your recruitment team, but obviously that catastrophic failure that we've signed and now sacked obviously is a mark on their card. So I'm happy that they're taking more of an interest. I just hope that we bring in somebody to be a bit behind them, a proper manager. None of this project stuff. But the statement was good because it also took away, because I heard some stuff saying, oh, well, it's the fans that have got him out with the blockading of the bus and stuff, which is nonsense. It's his track record that he's shown over the 16 games that he was in charge that he's won domestically. It's just not good enough. So it's a bit longer than it should have been. He should have been sacked a while ago, but at least it's done, and now we can focus on the future. So I'm happy with the statement.
Yeah. I think everybody is universal. I think everybody will be very pleased with that worded letter. Alex, it's been a long time coming, and we did kind of criticise Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marath for not speaking earlier. We have said that they only said they would speak when things aren't going well. Well, they certainly haven't gone well, and they've certainly come out with a belting statement. But yeah, I just like the fact that they appreciate that they've made a mistake. They're putting their hands up to say, look, okay, folks, sorry, we made a mistake. We're taking responsibility here, and we're going to get involved in the next sort of next process of picking the next manager. So it's nice that they're getting involved, but at the same time, Alec, still there's something in the back of my head gnawing, and you mentioned it before we started, that Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thirlwell can't be very confident in their ability now.
No, exactly. There was a comment I wanted to bring up. You've actually segued into nice now. Stevie's asking, if they need to be more involved, then why are Stewart and Thirlwell there? And it's a great question. Why are they there? If they're having to step in this early and make a decision that Thirlwell and Stewart couldn't, then why are they in post? Why are they there? Because that's obviously a job that they should be doing. Obviously Andrew Kavanagh was over a couple of weeks ago, and I think there was obviously going to be stuff in the background. He's not going to come over and have a jolly when the results aren't going the way, seeing the utter drivel that we're putting out there and going, right, I'm going back to the States. He's obviously had a good long conversation with Russell Martin that the results need to improve, and if not, we're not going to be happy. You're going to be leaving. The issue was that it took more poor results to get him out. That should have been the point. I know we got a win against Livingston, and that probably kept him in a job for another couple of weeks. But even that was a poor result to get. We were second best, and he was kept in the job. So I think that Thirlwell and Stewart definitely will be looking over their shoulder for the next at least couple of months. Even if we get a good manager in, I don't think they're going to have any sort of say on it, who it is. I think they'll have their names, but I think it's going to be Parang and Kavanagh that 100% have all the say here. They've made that quite clear that they're going to be at the forefront of this. So it'll be interesting to see who they go for. Are they going to go for the named manager? Do you know that way? There's somebody that's going to come in that it's a big name and they think it's going to do their job, or is it somebody that's got the experience but it's been maybe quietly doing their job in the background, doing well domestically in other leagues? Because from what we've seen so far with the recruitment process, we're very, very heavily linked with down south in Championship, League One, rather than actually going for people who know the SPFL, who've played in it, managed in it, whatever. That seems to be where we're going. But a lot of the names on that list aren't really down there at all. They're all kind of like managers we know, have either been at the club before or have been heavily linked with us in the past. So they needed to make that decision, but it's going to be interesting to see what Thirlwell and Stewart do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, I said yesterday on the sort of the breaking news sort of pod last night that Thirlwell and Patrick Stewart should have been going to the chairman at some point and saying, look, chairman, I think we should be making a decision here. It shouldn't take the chairman to come over and come and have a look at things and see things for himself, not be too impressed, and then during his post-match interviews, that's when the decision was made to get rid of him. It shouldn't take a chairman to sort of flex his muscles on his sporting director and his CEO. The CEO and the sporting director should be showing a bit more guts and making that decision themselves and recommending to the chairman that they do this rather than the chairman telling them what to do.
Well, the chairman's basically come over and pushed them to make the decision and cut him loose, which is the opposite way around. It shouldn't be like that. They should be going to him, like you say, and saying, right, we need to cut this short because it's not working, but they've not done that. So, but then that might mark their cards going forward. Maybe the chairman and that are looking at replacing them with people that can make decisions. I specifically Patrick Stewart, because obviously Thirlwell is more recruitment sort of thing. He's more like player recruitment, but I know he can be involved with the management. But I think we might see movement in the boardroom at that sort of level if they can't be trusted to make simple decisions like that. I know, obviously, the body of work proves that he should have been cut away. We could all see that. Everybody watching could see that he needed cut away, but it's taken the chairman to come over to say, what's going on here? We need to cut this guy loose. So forced their hand, basically, and made them do their job, which obviously in any line of work, that's not what you want your boss coming over and making you do your job, because that's what he pays you for.
Absolutely. And that comment that you just had up there, Alex, from Jacob and the Starry-Eyed Shadows, I mean, Mark, I'll go back to you with this. Did they want to make the decision, or was it taken out of their hands? I think the decision was taken out of Thirlwell and Stewart's hands, wasn't it?
I would agree. I think that's the whole point. He's come over to have a look at to see the lie of the land, and he's saying that something's not spelling right here, and then he's told them to make that decision. So I think it's been their hands been forced, which it shouldn't be the case.
I don't think they've made the decision at all. I think the fact that Russell Martin left the ground separately, I think there's obviously been a phone call, and that's probably with Kavanagh and with Thirlwell and Stewart. And he's been probably given his marching orders there, either in the car or when he got back to Ibrox. I don't think Stewart and Thirlwell even made that decision. I honestly believe that it was Andrew Kavanagh that's made that decision to say, right, it's not working, see you later on. I don't think they would have. I think you can see the conversations when we were over in Austria at the Sturm Graz. They were happy with Russell Martin. They said that, who else would you bring in? And the comments were that, they were happy with Russell Martin regardless of the results. They were wanting him to stay and try and turn this around. So I think that even with that result yesterday, I think it was just taken out of their hands, and Kavanagh's made the decision. I think he's the one that's actually told Russell, right, off you pop. I don't think they would have had the goal to sack him, and I think that's where it's definitely come from.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. I don't think Stewart or Thirlwell wanted to make this decision. I think they were quite happy to plough on and hopefully things were going to turn around, but it just wasn't going to happen, Mark, was it? It was I'm certainly not saying the players down tools on the manager, but nothing was changing. It was the same stodgy, slow, I mean, he promised us quick, aggressive football. Well, I'm still waiting to see it. It just never happened. So I firmly believe if Kavanagh hadn't sort of pulled the trigger and says, no, we're making a change, I don't think Thirlwell or Stewart would have made, or Thirlwell or Stewart was certainly not recommended to the board that, to do something.
Well, maybe not, but obviously the chairman and Barath have got eyes inside their skull, so they would have seen what we're seeing. There's no fast, forward-thinking, pacey football. It's slow, pedantic, passing back and forward. It was horrendous to watch. It was never going to work. And anybody with a pair of eyes could see it. So, but then if they too can't make that decision and that's their job, then I can see them quickly following out the door. If in all honesty, the chairman's made that decision and went above them, and he's made it, then I can see them having their marching orders soon as well.
Absolutely. And Alex, you would have seen in the watch along yesterday, there was an able sort of person in the studio that we all think could do Thirlwell's job if push came to shove. Is that a move that you would like to see?
I'd like to see it tomorrow, mate. I'd like to see it tomorrow. I'd like Davy Weir straight in, a man that fully gets the club. Obviously, had a great time at Brighton. Obviously, now out a job, I think it would be silly not to even have the conversation with him. The issue is that it's the exact same situation as Russell Martin, only in the job a couple of months, and are they going to be brave enough to pull the trigger and say it's not working? Because they've obviously got great connection. Davy Weary knows exactly what he's talking about with the club. He knows what it means. And I think if a manager like Russell Martin was in charge when Davy Weary was here, he'd have been gone long before now, because the results are just not good enough. So I think that if anything, I think we need to be looking at it. And that's a great point from Great Wall. Why was he in the studio? Because,
well, he played for both clubs.
He did.
He played for Falkirk, so that's why he was the. You could argue he was there as a Falkirk representative, but it was quite clever, Alex, wasn't it? You know how they put Davy Weir in there.
I mean, it's obviously great for the Rangers fans to see it, and they obviously want to see as much of somebody as Davy Weir as they can. But it puts that seed in your head, doesn't it? It puts that seed that, could it be happening? They want to get your expectations up, as Gallant says there. You know, it could be nothing. It could be nothing, but you know, it's to get that excitement up, because we've had no excitement all season. So if we get a wee bit excited by Davy Weir being in the studio, then why not? Because we at least deserve something. But I think that the talks could happen. As we said in that statement, it didn't look good for Stuart and Thirlwell. So maybe they are already, same with the manager, looking at options. If it doesn't improve, then maybe it's a case of off you go, because some of the recruitment as well, these guys have spent a lot of money, a lot of Andrew Kavanagh's money, and it's not worked either. The payout that Russell Martin's obviously going to get for having to pay out his contract. Then you've got the some of the transfers haven't worked at all. So if it doesn't improve, and a lot of the boys that have come in aren't up to standard, they're going to be on the chopping block away, because if it was down to Thirlwell and Stuart, we'd probably have somebody from their family in charge tomorrow. They'd be the manager tomorrow, because it seems to be that we're just hiring all their family in there. They're getting them into the club in different positions.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, Mark, the way this is played out, you know, I've listened to a lot of stuff over the last 24 hours last 30 hours that's sort of criticised the Rangers fans for what they did yesterday. I mean, I think the fans were pushed to a point where they felt as though they had no other option. They exhausted everything. They had set, you know, they were vocal in the stands. They were having banners up. They exhausted every form of protest or, you know, showing displeasure. And I think the fans finally snapped last night. I think their frustration just spilled over, and they just basically stood behind the bus and wouldn't move. And I know it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good from looking outside in. But I think yesterday's events was purely fan frustration, just completely spilling over, and they had simply had enough.
That was the word I would use. Was it's frustration that's boiling over. I don't think anything they done was wrong or whatever. They didn't do. There was no violence. There was nothing like that. It was basically block the bus and don't let it go anywhere. I have heard on certain radio stations and certain programs that gangs of thugs holding up the bus, and it was just fans holding up the bus. There was no violence. There was nothing thrown. No one was attacked. It was simply it wasn't a silent protest. It was a vocal protest of blocking the bus. I didn't really see any massive drama with it. Obviously, the optics might not look good from people looking in, but you can spin it however you want. I think it was fair and justified under the circumstances of what we've been put through over the last 3 months, with no one seeming to take any notice of it and just trying to brush it under the carpet as if, oh, yeah, it's fine. Things will improve. Oh, we had a good 45 minutes. Oh, we had a good 10 minutes. We scored a goal. It was nonsense. So I'm quite happy with the protest, especially because it didn't turn out that nothing was thrown. The bus wasn't damaged. So there's nothing really to write home about with that protest. I think people try and make it out to be something that it wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was very much a storm in a teacup, Alec, wasn't it? There was, you know, it was just guys just standing there, you know, certainly not, I couldn't see anything vocal getting said where the bus was parked. I think it was basically a case of, well, if you're wanting to leave, you're going to have to not go through us literally, but, you know what I mean? You'd have to face us and, you know, face the music. And obviously the security and the police decided that it wasn't safe for the players. And I don't think for 1 minute, Alec, that set of fans would have done anything stupid. But obviously, the police and the Rangers security weren't taking any chances. I think, as I said before, it was. I think we've been extremely patient over this start to the season. I think although people will say we've been vocal in the stands and stuff like that, I think we've been extremely patient. We haven't let it spill over like it has in the past. So it's very. I was relieved in the sense that at the very worst, I think there was a few hurty words said through a window. That was about it, wasn't it?
I mean, that's about it. When you actually look at, there was a lot of videos that came out from Sky Sports, and they were all standing in like a line. It's like they were all waiting to get an autograph rather than actually causing hassle. There was loads of cars around them. If it was that much of a mob mentality of hooligans, surely the cars wouldn't get attacked. The bus would have been getting attacked. Literally, they were just shouting. They were obviously wanting a conversation, maybe not in a polite way, but a conversation with Russell Martin that was then deemed unsafe by Rangers Security and Police Scotland. But there's a great comment. I forgot to start it, but I think it was about that. It was the fact it was the Union Bears, so that's why they've labelled it as a thug mentality and a mob mentality, because it's the ultra group, But that point that I brought up from Ali, in Italy and other places, you're made to go and face the fans and have that conversation. Here we get a wee clap in the centre circle and off you go. We should be standing for it. And I think that the worst issue is that as Rangers fans, since we won the league, we've literally just been on a decline. And this season we fell off a cliff. And I think that's probably what's just tipped us over the edge. See, because we were promised so much, and it's been promised since we had it with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and he got sacked. It was Beale, it was Clement, it was Barry. We've just been promised all of this. We'll get back to where we were. We'll win the titles. We'll rise back up to the top of where we should be in Scottish football. And each and every time, it just feels like we've been lied to. And I think with Russell Martin, it was completely a tipping point. Nobody wanted him in the first place, and it boiled over. I don't know how much more you could have done, in all honesty, because the amount of banners that we put up, the protests, the empty stadiums, the European packages not being sold, how much more as fans do we have to do to say we're not happy with what's going on in this club, other than just going, right, you know what, you're not going anywhere until we can have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kavanagh and Marath, Mark, have obviously looked at the numbers and seen how the stadium has been not full for a good while now. And I think when your fans are starting to not go, that's when you know you've got problems. They'll have seen the uptake on the European tickets. They'll have seen that not everybody was up for buying them. They'll have seen a massive decline in the 3-match package. So, I think Marat and do you think Marat and Kavanagh have maybe underestimated the Rangers fan base in the sense that we won't put up with this. We'll give you a little bit of leeway, but at the end of the day, make a decision when it has to be made.
I'm not sure if they underestimate as such. I think because they would have access to the financial records from last year. The uptake of the European tickets was obviously a lot better because we weren't as bad. So they would have seen all the numbers that were there for last year, what they were looking at, and the numbers that made them buy the control and stake in the club. And they'll see a massive drop-off, and they'll think, oh, what's happening here? And then it's linked to the manager. Obviously, you don't want to sack a manager, but they've let it go a little bit too far, but they were maybe relying on Patrick Stewart and Thurwell to make that decision, but it's not happened, and it's went too far. So I'm not sure if it's an underestimating of the Rangers fans. I think it was maybe they were leaving it in the supposedly capable hands of those two, and they've had to pull the trigger, and that's done by purely the financial as well as the performances, because they can see the drop-off and the lack of income coming through, because normally those tickets would be snapped up in the three-game package. They'd be gone. You might have a couple of tickets spare that you can buy, but usually they're taken because we've had such a good record in Europe over the last 5 years in the Europa League. Mm-hmm. It's been good, apart from that one horrendous Champions League season. Apart from that, we've been decent. So I think the tickets would have gone, but I don't know the numbers for this season, but I can see it's probably massively down on what it's been over the last 3 or 4 years in Europe. So that's probably helped them push that button and make the decision themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Stephen's asking Alex, do you think the crowds will automatically go up? I reckon so. So Dundee United at home is the next game. Do you just see Ibrox being full to the Gunnels and supporting the team again?
I think it's going to be based on who we get in as manager. In all honesty, see if we believe in the manager and who we get in. I think there'll be an optimism in people wanting to go to just see Rangers, knowing that Russell Martin and his backroom staff's not there, and see that there might be a different bit of football, because I think that there's been periods all season where you can see the players have kind of ignored Russell Martin's tactics, and we played like good football, but then it lasts only like 10 minutes, and then there must be like a word, and they go straight back to the way that we've been told to play. So I think there'll be an optimism that we get back and actually start playing well. But I think that if we get a manager in that a lot of the fans want, I can see it being a sellout against Dundee United. It'll be packed, and I think as well, depending on who we get in, I think the European packages will get snapped up because there's so many of them unsold, and I think they'll go and they'll be sold out as well, because a lot of people didn't want to buy tickets to games, didn't want to buy the European packages until Russell Martin was out the club. So I can definitely see there been a shift and change. What we need to do as a fan base, though, regardless of who comes in, is get behind these players, because they're obviously going to feel a lot of the negativity, as they should. They've obviously not performed on the pitch, but we need to be getting behind them so that we can actually get back to winning ways. Because if we're still negative towards the players and the way they're playing, then we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's very apparent that things had to change, and it's I mean, just check the tickets for Dundee United. It's almost sold out already. So Mark's saying Cammy is very very good at looking for tickets and buying them, and he's saying that it's almost sold out already. So that's a good sign straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, people immediately have got a bit of optimism again because he's gone from the building. I think, like I've said, if the right person in, I think you'll see numbers increase massively. I don't know who you two are looking at, because obviously I missed the start of the show. I don't know who you two are thinking you want yourselves, but if we get the right man in, I can see attendances skyrocketing and those tickets going. So it's definitely a good thing already. You can see people's got a bit of optimism about them again. So
absolutely, and we'll leave the sort of managerial sort of position till near the end of the show, because I want to leave that for the end to finish on a high. But Alex, it's what in their statement they were very precise in their wording when they said they're looking for a leader. Now that's something that wasn't used in the last process. So, with that in mind, does that limit the names that are obviously linked with Rangers? Does that narrow down the search for them, basically?
I think it narrows down the search in terms of a lot of the names that are on the shortlist for the odds, because although there is managers there that are leaders, they've not really had much domestic success, and they've not had much in terms of they've done okay in the league campaign, or they've done okay in the respective seasons, but not had much success winning trophies. I think that the names that are there, the top four, are probably the nailed on. A lot of people obviously want Gerrard, and at one point he was even money today. So if you're to go by what the bookies are saying, we're going to be seeing Steven Gerrard tomorrow, because they're nailed on that he's coming in. I think that this 7 interviews and 7 chances to say what you want and get your point across, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that it's going to be, you meet with Andrew Kavanagh. I think it was great. It was either in the comments, it was in our chat. I don't want a PowerPoint manager, and that's what we don't want. We want somebody that's going to be nailed on, because when you look at the style of Russell Martin, he hardly ever moved up and down that touchline. The only time he moved was to get back to his iPad, look at an instant, look at a bit of play, and get back up. I want a manager, we've had it time and time again, that's up and down that line. You know, that they're raging, that they're shouting instructions at the players, are telling them what to do, rather than waiting for a throw-in and having a quick wee 2-second word. There needs to be somebody that's literally there, having that impact straight away. If they come in and they can get the players going, oh shit, we can't mess about, because if we do, we're getting dropped. They'll never seem to be that way with Russell Martin. It seemed to be you're his favourites and you're playing regardless. The only person that really got dropped was Aarons. He got dropped for a few games, but then he was straight back in, scored the winner at Livy, and it's like, right, all's forgotten. So there's players there that managers, that will have to come in and make an impact, because we can't be continuing this to play with our mentality issues and our anxiety and struggling on the pitch with that. It needs to be coming in and going, right, this is what we're doing and this is what it's going to be. And I don't think that there's many managers on that list that will get that very wrong, but Russell Martin definitely was one.
Well, Alex, if you could oblige, the people are asking for a poll. So can we get a poll in?
We can't, mate, because I don't have the access to the studio, so I can't get the poll in. If I see that Hamish is in the comments, if Hamish can get us a wee poll, that'd be great. But you have to go into another bit that I don't have access to yet.
Ah, see, it's okay. Well, maybe Hamish will oblige.
Before we go on, a few super chats here that will get to. So Tess has been a member now for 15 months. So Blue Teddy Bear 15 months. We've had another new member, Christine Sowers. Sowers. I'm going to put it. So welcome in, Christine. Quinny has been a member for 20 months. There's Myths on Fire. I wonder what Quinny's been into. And then we've had Ian Mitchell, who's also been a member for 16 months. I thought there was reason he was in the studio. Maybe wishful thinking. I think that's around Davy Weir. Another new member, Ali McKenzie. Welcome again in. And then a £5 super chat here from Ian Mitchell. Do we see a full house on the 18th, depending on who gets hired? So we've covered all of them. So
yeah, I mean, do you think it's dependent on who gets hired, Mark, or do you see everybody just coming back because Russell Martin's not there?
I think currently it will be everybody's going to go back. But if there's a manager that comes out of nowhere that it's the same sort of lack of enthusiasm like a Russell Martin type, then that might dip again. But I think if we get somebody in that we're all kind of behind and we can see is going somewhere, then I think the numbers will be up. But unless it was another terrible managerial appointment, because I think 90% of us didn't want Russell Martin in the first place. So if it's another one of those, then you might see numbers dropping. But I think there's excitement back again. I'm already feeling a bit more enthusiastic and excited about it, and we've not even got anybody in yet. It's just natural because of how poor we've been this season. There's a little bit of uplift, so I think the attendances will be fine in the first few games, and obviously if the manager begins of a good calibre and a decent quality, you'll see them going back to full, basically.
Yeah, I've seen that one from Vix's McInnes left heart chat. It could, well, it's going to be, I mean, Alex, do you see us employing internally, as in from the league, or do you see us going outside the league?
I think if you're Cavanagh and Parang, I think they're going to see that they went out of the league the first time, and it's not had any success at all, because they've struggled domestically against every team in the league that we've played against so far. We've either drew, been beat comfortably, or had to scrape a last-minute winner. So I think that this time we might be surprised that they actually go internally within the league and look at either. I think that the issue you've got is that, in all honesty, I think the only option within the league internally is going to be Robinson. I don't think Hearts are going to let Derek McInnes go for any fee. I don't think they're even going to entertain a conversation. We can all want and hope that it can be Derek McInnes, but they're flying high with Hearts right now, and I don't think that Tony Bloom is going to. I just seen Stevie's comment as well when I was talking about Tony Bloom is going to have no interest at all in letting him go. I think that we can go, we'll offer you whatever. They're flying. they're top of the league. They're chasing this title. There's no chance in hell that Derek McInnes is going to leave Hearts unless they do what Aberdeen did last season and have a catastrophic failure. He's gone nowhere. They're staying there. He's going to stay and fight tooth and nail to get it, because let's be honest, they don't have any European football to worry about. So they're just going to be flying for this and hoping that they can get the league title wrapped up.
Yes, absolutely. And the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the pod, we'll go over the options, Mark. So the latest odds that I'm seeing is Steven Gerrard is even money. We then have Sean Dyche at 5-2. We have Kevin Muscat at 5-1. We have Danny Roll at 11-2. We have Derek McInnes 6-1. We had David Weir 6-1. He just came out of nowhere, obviously, because he was on the telly yesterday. Rafa Benitez 7-1. Graham Potter 7-1. Marco Rose 10-1. Steve Cooper 12-1. Gary O'Neill 16. Stephen Davis 25. Barry Ferguson 25. Solskjaer 28. Lampard 33. Knutson at 33. Michael Carrick 33. Ralph Hasenhüttl at 50s. And Gareth Southgate at 50. Now, the only reason I've went all the way down to the bottom of the list is the fact that, remember, Russell Martin came from absolutely nowhere. He was on the list to be the manager, but he was so far down, nobody even gave him a consideration. So, Is there anybody out of that named list that you're thinking that's way down that you think, we might take a chance on them?
Way down, no. I'm thinking of somebody that's Edinburgh based is the one that I'm thinking is that I would go for myself. I think he would come if he wants to go. It will happen. I don't think Hearts they can say no, but I don't think they can hold him if he doesn't want to stay. And we offer money, and he makes it clear that he doesn't want to. He could break his contract and go, and he could come to us, and we pay them some money. So I don't see it being drama to get him if we really wanted him. But the names below, I don't really think any of them really stick out to me. But no, Solskjaer, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't be looking at that. So maybe like you say, Russell Martin, there might be somebody that comes from left field that was not even on that list that comes in. But I would go for McInnes myself if it was me. And then apart from that, Stevie G, I wouldn't mind if he came back, but I don't see that. I think that's just every time the joke comes up by association, he's going to be in there. But no, anybody from down in the reaches, I don't see that I would be interested in or think that they would come to us. So I think we might get a left field, somebody that's not even on that list. But I would go for McInnes myself.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed, Alex, you're starting, you're showing everybody's sort of, there's a fair mixed bag for what everybody's wanting, isn't there?
I mean, the only person that everybody seems to say no to is Sean Dyche and Sean Dyche, Graham Potter, and Southgate. That seems to be the three that everybody's saying no to. I'm kind of in agreement with that. I mean, when it's Dyche ball, it's like park the bus and try and get a 1-0. That's what we've been having.
At least he'll organise a defence, though, won't he? He'll organise a good defence. That's what he does. Yep. But apart from that,
I mean, and there's Andrew saying the two that won't be coming is McInnes and Lampard. I mean, both are absolutely flying in the respective leagues. Obviously, McInnes with Hearts and Lampard with Coventry. So there's a few names there that you think there's absolutely no chance that will go, and that they're obviously just a speculation of them. But I will say that there is a poll up now, and the poll is live. So I have put full names on there. So Dougal's put full names on there, but I've given him the name. So vote away and let us know what you think. But PJ saying that Gerrard, Muscat, Roll, Knutson, and Van Bommel would be the ones that PJ would take in. We could get Tucker Sloan from Auchinleck Talbot as well. That might be that's internal for you. There you go. But there's just there's names in that list, Brian, that we can go through each and every one of them and say an I or a no of why. But as we said, when it came to the last bet, and I said this last night, Russell Martin wasn't even on it, and then all of a sudden, the day before, he jumped right to the top of the list, and he was then in the job. So I think that, I think we're either going to be very, very pleasantly surprised, I can't talk, as to who it's going to be or it will be one of the guys on that list, because when it was Ancelotti, he wasn't on the list. Then he jumped to the top. Then Danny Roll jumped above him, and then Russell Martin came out of nowhere and got the job. So I think that they're going to definitely keep their cards close to their chest. I just wonder who we're going to get, because it's going to be a massive job to take on, because right away you're going to have to, one, win over the fans, but two, you've got to hit the ground running. There can be none of this, even a stutter. Dundee United are obviously in good form just now, but we need to be getting out there and absolutely demolishing them to the point where we've not seen at all all season, getting a good couple of goals and not struggling. But this new manager's definitely going to have to come in and go, right, this is what we're doing. Because if we don't, it's going to be another rinse and repeat, and we're back to the comment we brought up of Groundhog Day, of just let's go round and round in circles until we can get one appointment right, while the whole league is laughing at us because we're just plummeting up and down. We're yo-yoing around this league all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the names, Mark, right, Steven Gerrard's the standout at this point, but as Alex has just says, that moved so much last time when Russell Martin came in. There was 3 or 4 of them that were favourites, and then Russell Martin came out of nowhere and got the job. So this is the early betting. So there's obviously going to be movement the more that the bookies feel, or whenever people start putting their money. But Gerrard, we know. Dyche, we've spoke about, he'll organise a defence. Muscat now, Stephen Robertson, that's a great supporter of the pod this morning, wasn't impressed with what he's seen down under with Muscat. He feels that he's very hot-headed. He loses his temper very quickly. It's a difficult one because obviously we're not seeing much of the Australian League down there, and he's obviously working in Japan now, I believe. So you don't get much of the J League or the A League down in the UK. It's very difficult to see anything. So in regards to Muscat, I'm not quite sure. Danny Roll, again, I'm not quite sure. McInnes, we've spoke about. Davy Weir, well, I don't think that's going to happen. And then you're in the likes of Benitez and Potter and stuff like that. And I think when you start getting into that, I mean, the only one that's down deep in the pack that I think is interesting is Knutson, that's at Bodo Glimt. But I think that he's very comfortable in Norway where he is. I don't think I think he's 50, 51, so he seems to be part of the furniture at Bodo Glimt, and I don't think he's going to move anytime soon. But I mean, the interesting one is Muscat, because he's been in the frame 2 or 3 times now for the job and he hasn't got it. So when the Marath and Kavanagh were in the open letter mentioned they're wanting a leader, is Muscat that sort of type of leader?
He could be. I think he's in. Is he in China? I think he's in China. I think he moved from the league to China. He was because he signed a new contract, I think, a while back. But I think Knutson, his contract ends in December. But then he's been in Norway for ages, so I'm not sure that's a big risk as well. As much as he's done well there, it could be a big risk and no translate over here. But Muscat could be that leader, like you say. He's got that Australian in him. He's a bit hot-headed, bit temperamental, confrontational. So he was like that as a player. So I don't know, maybe he's transitioned that into his management career. So he's done well at every club he's been at, I think, as well. I'm not so sure about China because I don't keep up on Chinese football, but I know to get him to China, he's done well in Australia and he's done well in the J League as well. So he could be the guy that we bring in, and he does well for us. I think his football was decent as well, but it's all about translating it into Scottish football, in it. So he could be. Definitely got that leadership part side of it, but whether it translates or no into Scottish football, I don't know. I know he played here for a little bit, but that obviously doesn't mean he's going to be a great manager for us in Scotland. So he could be a decent choice, but then you've got to wonder if he's been in the frame 2 or 3 times before, why hasn't he got it? And then the people we've had in front of him haven't really worked out, so there must have been a question, but I don't know. He might be the man, but I'm not overly enamoured by the list, apart from Stevie G and McInnes. And I don't really think of much about the others because we don't want another EPL or Championship type project manager, so I don't know, that probably rules a couple of names out, and Frank Lampard I don't think is going to come, and there's a few others that I don't think would come that are on that list, so I bet they might be talking to somebody out with that list. That's what I'm thinking, and it might be, hopefully it's a big name appointment, whatever that would be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, it's going to be well, when do you envisage a new manager being appointed? Do you envisage it before this weekend coming, as in the manager will have a week's training with the new player, with his new team, or do you see the possibility of a caretaker situation happening? Personally, I don't see the caretaker scenario happening. I think they want somebody in place. I think they'd rather get a manager in now. It's difficult for a manager coming in mid-season, though, isn't it, Alex?
I think if you're doing the caretaker, you're papering over the cracks, because you're just, if you're taking them in and they start doing well, do they then stay for the rest of the season? If they don't, then it just puts more and more pressure on Kavanagh and Parang to get it right, because they've obviously not. I think that we need to get a leader in now. I think it's such a hard position to come in now. You're coming in, we're only 2 months into the season, but most of those heads are dropped. You can see it from the reaction at full time yesterday. Most of the players were up the tunnel. So it's going to be a hard one to get the fans back on board and actually get us going. I do think that I don't see us signing the manager this week. I think it will start next week. When a lot of the players come back from international duty, it'll be and then they've got a couple of days before Dundee United to get us going. I'd like to see him in tomorrow, like to get that run. But I think that's just as fans, we want the due diligence done this time. We were promised all of we were promised the world with Russell Martin, and we got served up shite. So we definitely need to be seeing the board actually take accountability here and get the right man in, and not just go, this is somebody coming in like another Barry situation. They're coming in to fill the cracks, and then we'll get somebody in. Once we've done a lot more recruitment, you've had enough time. I know you only sacked Russell Martin yesterday, but you can't tell me from a board perspective that you've not been looking at a new manager, knowing that Russell Martin's cards were marked. You've been doing this for a while, because you didn't come over 2 weeks ago to just have a jolly and have a chat. You've come over and said that your job's on the line. So at that point, that's when you start your recruitment process. You put the feelers out, see who's available, see who can come in. If there's any managers that actually you think could do the job, that's when you get them in. So I think that they'll definitely have a few shortlisted already. And I know I said fill the cracks, right? I meant paper over the cracks.
Yeah, I kind of thought you'd regret saying that one, Alex. I thought you'd regret saying that.
I regret straight away.
But I mean, as Ben Sooty 69 saying, Mark, it needs to be a marquee signing to get the fans back on board. I mean, I'm firmly of the belief that the board I'm not saying pulling out stops, but they've certainly got to get the excitement, and they've got to get the juices flowing of the fans again, because they've let us down badly with the first appointment. So this next one, when I say they, I think Kavanagh and Marath are under no illusion that this one has to be right. And I kind of tend to agree with Ben Sooty. I think it will be somebody fairly, of a decent stature.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's why the names on that list, I'm thinking it's going to be somebody left field, because I'm thinking they're going to go for this big name, proper experienced manager that's going to get everybody sitting up. Like when we got Stevie G in, I know he wasn't a big name manager, but he's a big name. But I think it's got to be something in the manager realm. It's got to be a big name, and then I think that'll get the fans on board. So I'm hopeful they're going to bring in somebody. I'm hopeful they're going to bring in somebody that's of a really good caliber, somebody that we've not had for a while, somebody of a decent standing. No, these projects that we've been bringing in, or these obscure managers we've just pulled from random leagues.
Yeah, and as James Barrettine's saying, Alex, the board are under scrutiny. I bet the owners will have the final say. I mean, well, they said as much in the open letter, didn't they, that they're having a major influence on this selection. So the board are under scrutiny. As you and Mark have both stated, I think Thirlwell and Patrick Stewart's cards have been well and truly marked. I think they've had a shot across the bows in the sense that they got this wrong. So yeah, the board are under scrutiny now, aren't they, Alex?
They definitely are. I think they have the only say this time. I don't think Thirlwell and Stewart get even a word in. I think they have the only say this time, and I think it's because they got it so wrong so quickly with Russell Martin. They backed him. There was, if we're led to believe it, there was public conversations where Thirlwell said if Russell Martin was sacked, he would go. So they put a lot of backing into Russell Martin. So I think this time they're not going to have any say in the manager coming in. I do think that it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks before we play Dundee United, because we need to see, one, who comes in, and two, what the chat's going to be, what the press conferences are going to be. It's going to be so interesting to see where we go, because the amount of negativity that's surrounding the club right now, there needs to be a shining light that comes in and actually starts propelling us back up the table, back in Europe, because our fixtures are coming thick and fast. In this league, there's no slowing down. We've obviously got the League, Europa League, and 2 cups to play as well. So the fact that they're not coming in to have a couple of easy games and go, we're fine, they're sandwiched in between a lot of interesting fixtures. So for me, Brian, it's going to be massive recruitment time here. It was massive getting Russell Martin in. This is monumental. If we don't get this right, it's going to be another sinking ship, in all honesty.
I wondered when this would prop up, and James Valentine's back in again. I mean, is Robbie Thirlwell going to have a say in this one, Mark? I mean, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing worriedly because he is just in the door, and obviously a son of the sporting director. So yeah, it's a bit of a worry, that, isn't it?
It is bad. I think, like we've said, that I think it's going to be owner-driven this time. I don't think they're going to cut them out completely, because if they think they're that inept, they'll cut them loose. I think they would have cut them loose already if they think they're that inept. So they'll obviously, I think they might be the guiding hand that oversees it, but they're going to give them some sort of trust to get this second one right. But they might take a bit more of an interest in signing it off this time, rather than going, we trust you implicitly, you pick your man and you'll go with that. I think this time there might be a bit more questions asked, but I don't think they're going to take it off their hands and not, because then what's the point in having them? You would sack them. Anybody in their right mind and a business mind would get rid of people that they don't trust to make decisions in their job. So I think there'll just be more scrutiny on it this time. They'll be watched a bit closer.
Absolutely. As Martin said this morning, or did you say something else?
Yeah, I was going to say, there was just, before we even get ready to finish up, there was a question for you, Brian. So I want to bring this one up. So do you think the new manager will bring back in the players that Russell Martin had frozen out before he left? It's a great question. So obviously we've seen the likes of Bailey Rice and Finlay Curtis were completely frozen out, getting no game time at all. So do you think the new manager comes in with a clean slate for everybody, or do you think they come in with their own expectations and ideas?
I would like to think the new manager will be open to anybody, getting game time. I would hate for anybody to have the door slammed and frozen out again. I just hate this, players getting frozen out and behaviour like that. I just find it's very poor. And Finlay Curtis is a young lad who's burst onto the scene. You could say, he's done really well. And, on the face of it, he's done virtually nothing wrong. And he's now found himself, virtually in the Arctic, as far as, that's how cold he's been thrown into the absolute wilderness. It's madness. And he's one of the few wingers that we've got that you can actually think, right, he's going to do something on this pitch. I think him and Gassam is the only two that's looked like doing anything. Ant-Man's shown little flashes here and there. I mean, his first game was outstanding for Rangers, but then after that, I think the manager put the brakes on him and says, calm yourself down, So I think every player has to be given the benefit of the doubt by the new manager. It would be absolute madness for a new manager to freeze anybody out in his new team purely for the fact that he kind of needs bodies. We're not an experienced squad. We're very young, and we need every hand on deck going into the coming up for the October sort of Christmas sort of period of the season, because it's a busy time of the season. We've got European games, we've got League Cup game, Hampden looming as well. So there's lots of big games coming up. I think everybody's got to be given a fair crack of the whip by the new manager. I think I said in this afternoon's Rabble, I think in my head I was wanting Knutson, purely for the fact of how he seems to get the best out of players. You can get players for peanuts and sell them for big money. But I appreciate that folk in the comments are saying that he gets a slice of every transfer that Bodo Glimt make as well. So that he's got a lot to lose if he leaves there. And I've already said that he's very comfy in Norway, so I can't see him moving. He's at a stage in his life he's probably not needing the stress. So that was the one I was hanging my hat on and hoping would happen. But I think in my heart, I think the way that open letter was worded, it could be Steven Gerrard. I think the way it's the way that he said it's a leader that's that's been successful before, and I think Gerrard is firmly in the owners' minds. I don't know about you guys, but I think personally that's where the owners are going to go. I know folk will say it's lazy and it's a bit easy, but at the same time, domestically, it's domestically that I want to get back on track. Europe, for me, that can wait till next season. We don't get our act together, Mark, then there won't be any Europe. So we need to get our act together. But I'll be interested to see if indeed it is Steven Gerrard. I'll be interested to see his backroom stuff.
It will be. I wouldn't mind having him back. I think he'll do a good job as long as he's backed financially, because I think that was one of the main reasons that he left last time. Like he said, fix the roof while the sun's shining, and then he didn't get any money after that. But I think it's a new board and a new regime, so I think if they want him as their man, they'll back him, and then he'll get the money he wants required for the winter, and then next summer's transfer window. So I think that would be, it is an easy, lazy option, but he did have success in the end, and he done well for us in Europe over a couple of years. So I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't be upset if he came back, as long as he's backed properly and he's got autonomy to have a big input in the players that get brought in. Then I think it could work well again, because obviously he won the league the last time and it was looking on the up, and then they didn't back him, and then obviously what's happened over the last 4 seasons. So it could go well, but I think we just need to wait and see who they eventually plumb for and get behind them, and then go from there.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, do you see a universe where Mr. Gerrard returns?
It's a hope, and it's a like a bit of a pipe dream, to be fair. But I think the board are obviously not going to be. Well, we've seen that obviously the statement they put out. They're not going to be naive to just going back because we won the league and got the 55. I think that if they are going to bring him back, it's going to be after a long conversation. The expectations are going to be laid out. There's obviously going to be assurances to Gerrard as well, because he was obviously given the assurances by the previous board. And as Mark just said, he wasn't backed. He wasn't given that backing at all, and he left for Villa. But we have to also point out as well that he then moved to Villa and it didn't work. He then went to Saudi and again it didn't work. So as much as everybody wants Steven Gerrard back, he's not had the best of managerial career after he left us. So it'll be an interesting one to see if they do go with Gerrard, if they go with some of the other names that we spoke about. But if we look at the poll, Brian, that we put up, that has ended. So Steven Gerrard was the front runner. 53% of the vote went to Steven Gerrard. 24% went to Derek McInnes. 14% went to Stephen Robinson. And Danny Roll got 9% of the vote. So even with the comments, it was a clear favourite that a lot of the guys want Steven Gerrard back in the dugout. But again, we all wanted Russell Martin out weeks ago. So it'd be interesting to see if the board listen to the fans and take that into consideration. But again, does Gerrard want to take the job? Because he's been very quiet as well since he's been at a job. So it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of days, because I don't think it'll be long. I know I said next week, but it'll not be long until we start hearing from managers who are either looking to move, who want a job, or in the front running. It'll be everywhere. This will be hot on the press for the next few days or weeks until we get anything. But all we can do is speculate as we do until somebody comes in, and then we can see where we go.
Absolutely. And Gallant, I hope you're happy. 5 minutes extra. I'll let it run a little bit longer just for you. So there you go. Don't say I'm not good to you. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's been a busy one, obviously, with the open letter to the fans, obviously the sacking of Russell Martin yesterday. So yeah, we've had a lot of stuff to get through, and thanks for I noticed, yeah, very good. Thanks for sticking with us, because as I say, it's been an extremely busy few day and a bit after the news last night that broke. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us tonight. My thanks to Mark. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely. Alex, pleasure again.
Cheers, mate. Always good to be on.
Absolutely. And Alex, at least you can look forward to some watch-alongs now with a bit of positivity.
Exactly, mate. I don't have pure depression for 90 minutes trying to remain all positive. So we can at least get a watch along for Dundee United, and hopefully we can at least smile for the 90 minutes.
Correct. Absolutely. Well, as I say, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be back in the afternoon, the morning pod tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and then the afternoon pod at 12:30. And then at 7 o'clock, you have the member show at 7 o'clock, which is always a popular one. So if you want to see the member show tonight, join as a member. It's cheap. As Wolf said in the women's pod, it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So get yourself involved. And thank you for joining us, folks, and we'll speak very, very soon.